Good afternoon, guys. Back for another little chat on the world of fitness and life in general. I'm gonna try. I'm not gonna lie. I'm probably gonna end up ranting today, but there you go. Put up a little post yesterday just to give people an idea what we were going to talk about today. And I do try to get these videos done around the 2 o'clock mark on a Tuesday. Doesn't always work in my favour, and today, despite having to argue with my phone and make the routine sacrifice to the demon of the underworld to get the damn thing to work, I'm actually on time. It's a surprising difference. So, best exercise. That is a really loaded question. I did put a nice picture of the trap bar deadlift, or the hex bar, or whichever safety bar. Well, actually, it's not safety bar. The hex bar and the trap bar deadlift in the photo yesterday. It's a nice jumping off point. What is the best thing to say about the exercise you need most is, have you assessed your movement? Have you assessed if you have any weaknesses or deficiencies in your chain? Have you assessed what might be out of balance to the rest of what your body is capable of? That's usually the best exercise for you. And you can't say that everyone can do all exercises. And the reason I picked the trap bar is a very specific reason. What's very popular nowadays is heavy deadlifts. And I love deadlifts. Deadlifts are awesome. One of the things that seems to prevail a lot is that it's not a deadlift unless it's off a straight bar and off the ground. That is where I would tend to differ a little bit. If you are a powerlifter, it is your competition standard to take that bar from the ground, a straight bar. Yes, that is your deadlift. True. To me, a deadlift is more of a hip hinge pattern. We want to attack the backs of your legs, your posterior change. Teach you how to lift properly. One of the problems with the straight bar, it is the same height for everybody. It doesn't matter if you're 5'8" or if you're 6'8". You still have to lift that bar from the same point on the ground. And if you are 6'8", that means you have longer legs, you have a much longer lever to pull from, you're in a highly disadvantageous position, and you need almost 50% of the flexibility of someone who's a foot shorter than you to actually safely pull that weight. A lot of people don't have that, especially if there's someone like a field athlete who has been all their life vertical, making all their power through their quad, and they need to develop their hamstring to give them a bit better balance on the pitch. Getting them to go down to the ground when they're already tight there might not be a good idea. So, why the trap bar? Well, one of the nice things about the trap bar is because you're standing inside it, the leverages are quite different. It can let the knees go forward. It's a lot better for people who are a bit taller. And you'll also notice in the photos, we have them pulling from a block. So, we have decreased the range of motion slightly. That also makes it a lot easier for people to get into that position. We found most taller people can pull from that height without having to round or arch their back, without having to get any of the muscles that shouldn't be involved in the exercise involved. Are they pulling from the ground? Are they pulling competition standard? No, but they are pulling a heavy weight. And okay, maybe it's not the same as pulling 100 kilos from the ground. If that's a problem for you, load it up, do more weight. At the end of the day, we're not interested in sending guys to a powerlifting competition. That's a specific sport and a specific training ideal. We're more interested in getting people to have stronger legs and stronger hamstrings. They don't have to do a strict deadlift for that. It's a nice ideal to aim for, but not everyone's going to get there. And you'll even see in a lot of high-level sporting teams, they don't have everyone doing the straight trap bar. They'll have a lot of guys doing, they don't have everyone doing the straight bar. They'll have a lot of guys doing trap bars. You'll see it in NFL and where they have huge guys, because it's just going to put them in a poor position from an injury perspective to get down there to that bar. Even in American football, you see bench press. They'll often have what they call the football bar, which is a neutral grip bar, because not everyone's shoulders are going to agree with pushing a heavy weight off a straight bar. It's nice to say you should. Don't dispute that for a second. It's a great ideal to go for. But we have a wide spectrum of people in here. Like, I've had a lot of people come in post-injury, and I've had a lot of people who are getting training for a sport. And they don't care if they can lift according to a powerlifting standard. They care that the power they produce will translate to their sport. So I went off on a little tangent. That's to be expected. So that's kind of like on the trap bar, on the deadlift. There's nothing wrong with a variation of an exercise. There's a lot of different movements, patterns you want to hit in the gym. The ones you'd often hear are horizontal push, horizontal pull, vertical push, hip dominant, knee dominant, and then you can start getting to your abdominals and all this kind of thing. So trap bar is quite hip dominant. A lot of people don't have enough power in their posterior chain. Now that's a really blanket statement, but it seems to carry true. And you'll see with a lot of field athletes, there are situations on a pitch where a guy pulls his hamstring, and one of the reasons is he's too much power going down through his quad, the front of his leg, not balanced out by the back of his leg. It's not able to take that antagonistic force. There's not a guy out there on the pitch pulling that hamstring off the bone. It's the shearing force. Now that's not every pulled hamstring, but it is about having a balanced muscular structure of your body. And where should you start from? Do you have any assessment basis for the exercises you're doing? One of the things we do in here is we do a modified version of something similar to Gray Cook's FMS. It gives us a nice little template of this person is tight here, they might be weak here, this could cause an issue if we continue to push it. And it's just as important to know what you can't do as well as what you can do. The other thing is, can you do the very basic movements required for independence? Those would be, can you get down and onto and get off the ground? Can you squat to a 40 centimetre box and get up? And can you pick something up safely? And these are all things you can learn in the gym. We have had people who can't get up and down off the ground. That's been the starting point. We have had people who can't, we have a few people who can't squat comfortably to a 40 centimetre box. You're like, why is that such a big deal? The average toilet seat is 42 centimetres. So when you can't go down to that unassisted, that's a life-changing moment. And being able to pick things safely off the ground, that's where our deadlift comes in. Very nice, good exercise. A lot of people don't know how to pick things safely off the ground, and it is a life skill. Hamstrings in general are heavily involved in that. A lot of times when we see someone has a sore back, and I was talking to some people recently about this, it's often related to tight hamstrings. So one of the things that we found in general people will benefit the most from. A lot of people not often need to do more squatting, but they need to do a hell of a lot more hip hinge. So hard to give a definitive answer on the question I posed yesterday. What I would say is, have you assessed the deficiencies in your movement? If you're not sure how to do that, you have a couple of options. You can look up people like Kelly Starrett, Mobility WOD. Now, you need to understand how far do you need to go to function well, and where should you start? There's a lot there. You can look up things like functional movement screen. You can go to a professional place like, well, here's an example. You don't have to come here, but any place that's going to assess your movement before putting you on the gym floor and hammering exercise into you, that's a good starting point. Because often what happens is you'll see there's a deficiency in someone's movement in a screen, gives you an idea of, okay, this might be an exercise we don't want to push. And if you have that knowledge, you can build into it. That's not to say you'll never do that exercise, but sometimes you just need to take the time. If you don't have that knowledge, it's very easy to push past that safety zone. And that's not a great place to be. So that's just kind of something I wanted to say. Some people have asked me often, like, should I do this, should I do that? It's like, often, if it challenges you, it's a good exercise, as long as it doesn't cause you pain. And if it's going to address some of your deficiencies, it's going to be a good exercise for you. There's not much else to say on that subject, really. If anyone has any questions, throw them on. There's not really many exercises that are going to be bad for you, unless they cause you pain. And if they cause you pain, you need to assess why they're causing it. Okay? So, best of luck, guys. I'll chat to you later. Talk to you next week.